Hi, and welcome back to our podcast, Abilene People, here on bigcountryhomepage.com, where we talk to Abilene's most interesting people. And today's guest is going to make you real hungry. We got Jay Stearns from Jay's Barbecue Shack. Hi, Jay.
How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good.
So, when you got into the barbecue business, I'm sure you had right up the front of your bucket list, you wanted to start doing a lot of podcasts and a lot of media. Because I've seen you on a lot of YouTubes.
Yeah. Well, none of that was around really back then. It would have been helpful. You know, you can find anything on YouTube
Yeah, it's
now.
true. It's
And
true.
back then, you just kind of had to wing it. So,
Well, I was watching you on one YouTube, and we'll get into this, but you're just real open about how you cook and what you cook, and I don't know, maybe you got some secrets, but
well,
we'll try to pry them out of you here in the next few minutes.
it's one of those things where you can have a recipe and the weather could change it, or the wind, or
Yeah. Well,
anything.
we'll get there, but I want to be sure to talk about pig candy and how that started out to be bacon burn-ins and ended up with your own original deal that everybody loves.
Yep.
So you did not start out in your career as a pitmaster barbecue guy. You started out in IT. You worked for Dell.
Right.
You and your wife's name, remind me.
Diana.
Y'all got married here in Abilene.
Yep.
You were already living down in the Austin area.
Right.
And worked for Dell for a number of years.
Yep.
And then somehow or another, they had the crazy idea to move you to Tennessee. And you said, I think I'm gonna come back to Abilene.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I graduated with an associate's degree at TSTC in electronics and got hired on at Dell, and we were there for 10 years, got married, and kind of living the dream in Austin, and they were going to outsource us, and we didn't, all our family is from Abilene, so we didn't really care anything about going to Tennessee. And my dad had an oil business and was willing to expand his business to kind of fit what I was doing in Austin.
I mean, it's kind of interesting. You moved to Lebanon, Tennessee, would have been in short order without a job because not that I knew, but I looked it up. Dell didn't last long in Lebanon, Tennessee.
No.
So you made a good choice.
Right. Yeah.
So you moved back to Abilene and you were working in the oil industry, but kind of tech related for a little bit of time.
Yep.
And then somehow or another, you got into the business of welding and making smokers for other people that you were flipping and selling, right?
Right. That actually started in Austin as a hobby. We were really into Jeeps and stuff. Jeeps broke down a lot, so I bought a welder, and the scrap pile kept getting bigger and bigger, and I've always liked barbecue and thought, well, I'll build a barbecue pit out of this junk metal. And
Had you ever built one before?
nope.
And the first one you built, you still have by chance?
No, I wish I did.
Yeah.
It probably fell apart long ago.
I don't know. Those things last a long time.
It was heavy.
That'd be something. That would be something that somebody realized, hey, wait, I've got Jay's first ever barbecue pit.
Yep. Somebody's got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it a 2-chamber smoker?
It was, yeah. Had a little firebox off to the side, and the lid was a skid plate off a Jeep. So it was about the size of a Jeep gas tank, which it was plenty big for a brisket or a couple of racks of ribs, but not much more than that.
And then somewhere along the line, you thought, man, I could start cooking brisket and selling it. Or how did that happen? Because then you ended up in a trailer.
Right. Well, so we were building barbecue pits just because we kind of like to tinker around and weld, and we started going to cook-offs, and we were going mostly to see what everybody else's barbecue pit was built like, so we could build more pits and kind of expand our knowledge there. And well, to enter those contests, you got to cook something. So we'd get together and find a recipe and throw something at them. And it got to where the cooking was a lot more fun than the welding, especially in the Texas heat. So that kind of expanded. And by the time we moved back to Abilene, I was cooking a fair amount.
So I'm just curious, when you say the cooking was better than the welding, especially in the Texas heat, but I think people that don't realize how time intensive smoking a brisket is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of middle of the nights for you, I'm sure.
Well, a brisket from start to finish is for us, it's about a 3-day process from the time it gets seasoned till the time it gets served.
So you're going to season it. You're going to let it sit for a while.
Yep.
And do you let it sit like you cool it down and let it sit in a refrigerated area? Or
We season it and it sits in the fridge for about 12 hours.
First time I ever cooked a brisket, and I don't know if you've ever tried this. You probably tried it all, but the guy that taught me was putting them in a he's put like in a trash bag with Italian dressing,
Mm-hmm.
and I would wet season it.
Yep.
And boy, that was messy, but it made a good brisket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you always done dry seasoning?
I've tried it. Like I say, I've tried everything. When we were doing those cook-offs and stuff, you know, you try to find what's winning, and a lot of that stuff they'll brine it in Italian or buttermilk, and it.
Oh, buttermilk. I've never tried
Yeah.
that. Maybe that's an old saw, but I've never known that.
I don't know, but yeah, I've tried every way, and if you cook it right and you rest it right, it's going to be tender.
So how long did you stay in the trailer before you decided this is what I'm going to do and we're going to go full time? And then I guess for a while that was in the trailer.
Yeah.
And then you moved to what I'll refer to as your storefront on South 11th.
Right.
But how long was that how long of a time did it take you that you were doing 2 or 3 jobs and then you said I'm going to be a barbecue guy?
Yeah. We started out in 2015. We got a permit to sell food. I believe October, and we just sold kind of delivery. We'd cook it and then drive all over town delivering it for about a year. And once that got a little bit out of hand to where, we did chili one time and had 97 orders or something, and we had like 3 drivers. It was, we didn't really have minimums. We were just trying to sell some food and make a little extra money.
You do realize that this month we're recording this in October of 2025. Yep. This is your 10 year.
It is.
You going to celebrate somehow or do anything big or specials?
This Saturday we got a big party planned.
Is that right?
Yep.
Is it like public party or private?
Public party.
Okay.
Yep.
At your place.
It's going to be crazy. It's also my wife's high school reunion.
Okay.
So
all right. I thought you was about to say what year reunion. I was going to advise against that.
Yeah, I thought about that. And I thought let's leave it at reunion.
My not that you would know this, but my brother-in-law has purchased a trailer and he's cooking. I believe he's open 3 days a week.
Okay.
And he's down in the Houston area.
Yep.
And doing really well, man. People just love it.
Yeah.
And one day he does burgers. I think it's his Thursdays, his burger day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like your chili. Sometimes he gets in trouble.
Oh yeah.
He can't cook and serve enough.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, you're in the trailer. You're doing great. And then at some point you say, you know what, we gotta just get us a storefront and have a restaurant. Right. And it's a really unique restaurant. It's a great idea. I wonder, did you stumble upon that idea or was it strategy? Because I would have thought that won't work, but it's working incredible. Just for people that may not know, describe your restaurant.
Yeah, it's all we know is window service from the food trailer. We've never, me or my wife have never worked in a restaurant or, run anything like that. So all we know is window service. We bought that lot after about a year of being in the food truck, and for another year we just parked on that lot and kind of were stationary. But
I remember you had a little pole sign back in those days. I think
Yep.
it's still there.
It's still there. Yep.
And but it's the cutest little pole sign ever. It's Jay's Barbecue Shack or Jay's Bar. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a real cool design.
Yeah.
But that was there when you had your trailer.
Yeah. Little fireball.
Yeah. And you would,
Yep.
but you would take the trailer back and forth home every day. You didn't leave it there.
Right.
And was that a code issue?
It was city determined that, but it was still worth having a permanent location.
Dadgum city. You know why they got to get involved in everything, right?
Yeah. Looking back, they allow it now. If I'd have probably gone a little more in depth with what I was trying to do.
I say that tongue in cheek, but for our friends in city governance, we want you to know we're very happy with all you do for us. So then you was the brick building there?
It was a hair salon. And so the plumbing was right because they had the hair washing stations, and when we decided to convert it, like I say, all we knew was window service, so it was perfect. It was just basically a bigger version of what we had that wasn't on wheels.
So I want to get to the food, and that's kind of where we'll draw toward the last of the conversation. But I want to kind of just not talk about barbecue as much as just that entrepreneurial spirit. At some point, it's risky.
It is.
And there's a heck of a lot of work that people don't see or appreciate. It's got to be.
There
Talk
is.
a little bit about that if you don't mind.
It is risky. And it'd be almost impossible to do it by yourself. Luckily, my wife was on board, and she handles all the finances and numbers, and that allows me just to focus on cooking and figuring out how to make all that work. And if we weren't able to split it 50-50 like that, I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah,
Um,
because both of those are full-time jobs.
They are for sure, and she's really good at that, and I've gotten good at the cooking part over time. Um, but yeah, we didn't, we were unfortunate and fortunate that we didn't have like a recipe book going in, so it didn't hold us to a tradition, a family tradition or anything. But on the same time, we're kind of winging it and changing recipes as we go and trying to learn on
And
the fly.
were you making your own pits?
Yep. Oh yeah, every pit up there is homemade.
And so, in terms of this risk and just the hard work, I want to clarify that because you're still making all the infrastructure necessary for your business while you're cooking and selling because that's now become your business. Did anybody ever walk up and say, "Hey, man, I remember you. I want to buy that pit off of you"? And
Oh
did
yeah,
you
yeah.
did you ever sell one or no? I'm a
Yeah, no,
cooking.
I actually have. Yeah, we've we've gone bigger a few times, and the smaller ones I'll put for sale out there, and they always sell.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, many years ago, I had a nice large smoker that I inherited from the gentleman I bought a house from, and he's left it, and that's when I started smoking. Never to the extent or expertise that you have, but it was a big one.
Hmm.
I could cook enough brisket for our church at the time that we'd have 200 people eat on a Wednesday evening meal, and we'd have enough with brisket left over. And that's a lot of brisket.
Yeah.
And it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. That was in the days where I was doing that garbage bag and
Hmm.
Italian dressing and then basting it and
Yep.
all, and a lot of work, a lot of fun. And I don't know exactly where I was headed with that. Oh yeah. But now, smaller yard, smaller place. So, I've got one of those lazy man pellet
Oh yeah.
cookers and it does a fine job.
Yeah.
Nothing like what you achieve because you discovered the science along the way. And I'm sure you never try to put yourself off as a scientist,
Oh
but
no,
there's a lot of science involved.
there is, whether you know it or not. Yep.
Yeah. So describe that learning curve because now, we talked about the hard work, the long hours, the risk involved, and the learning curve of getting all of your recipes together and making sure it worked. That had to take a lot of time.
It did. And we still mess with it.
I was going to ask, are you still
Oh
doing it?
yeah. Pit wise, I'm about halfway through another 1,000-gallon pit that's going to be on a trailer, and it's going to be different than any of the ones over there, just because every smoker you build, you learn something and want to change it, but after you've cooked in it so long, it's hard to get in there and weld on the inside of them.
So you say it's on a trailer.
Hmm.
What's the thought there? Are you going to drive it around town or just have it right on your spot?
No,
Right on a trailer?
it's pretty much gonna be stationary, but with that Texas Monthly, nod, now we'll get invited to festivals around the state, and you got to have something to cook on. And
I'm glad you brought it up. Tell us about the Texas Monthly Nod.
yeah, no, that was something that we were, everybody's hoping for it. And we actually did a few things to kind of help us along to get where we made it to. But we started seasoning things more and started wrapping a little different, and we did change some stuff just for the hope of making the magazine. And
Yeah.
and in the process of changing stuff, we kept it that way because
Yeah.
it was a better product. But it made us go back through all of our recipes and say, all right, what can we change to make it better? The times now.
And where were you in the magazine? Did you make the big list? Did you make an honorable mention? Or
No,
did
we
you
were
make hey, y'all ought to go to Abilene and try this guy?
we made the top 50. We weren't in the top 10. And after 10, it's just here's 20 through 50 type deal, or 11 through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, here in a few weeks, we're going down to Seguin to Burnt Bean
Yep.
barbecue down there. That guy's made a big splash. And
Oh yeah.
then this weekend, we had a young man we were talking to who is in from Austin, and he goes to Franklin's
Yep.
on an almost daily basis. So he asked me, hey, you know about this Jay's barbecue? I said, yeah, you ought to go try him out. And he did.
Yeah.
And he got your triple threat, or is it triple
Texas Trinity.
Texas Trinity.
Yeah.
And well, he loved the sausage. I don't know
Yeah.
which sausage he got, but he loved it.
That's good. Yeah.
He was impressed.
Our sausage game's pretty strong.
Yeah, pretty strong.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about the food, and let's just stay with sausage. You've got a number of different kinds. I know I'll butcher the names, but no pun intended on butcher. But you got jalapeno cheese of some kind. You've got a chorizo, but maybe that's the jalapeno.
Well, it kind of rotates. The two that we have every day right now are we call it the Texas Original. It's just kind of a regular sausage that anybody would like.
Sometimes you'll call the OG?
Yes,
okay.
That's that one. And then we've got the New Mexico Christmas sausage, which is kind of like a jalapeno cheese, but it's hatch green and red chilies with pepper jack. So it's more of a Southwestern type sausage.
So you always have those two.
Always have
but
those
occasionally you'll toss out these others.
Yep.
And what are those others?
It could be anything. Last week we did a Frito pie sausage and a bratwurst for Oktoberfest.
And you make them all?
Yep.
All the sausage?
Everything.
You make it?
Yep.
You make it right there on site?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Lots of links.
How in the world did you learn to do that?
Well, that goes back to the old days where YouTube would have been handy, because I bought books, and the books were pretty good about ratios and recipes, but they weren't good about sausage casing. And it took me probably a year to figure out how to get that snap on that casing. We, worked, and the guy from Stevens Processing came, and he worked with me a little bit and gave me some pointers, and then eventually
Well, why were you so determined to cook it or to make the sausage yourself? You could have just, gone to anywhere and bought sausage.
Well, and we were buying it from Sklinerick's in, it's between San Angelo and Ballinger, little town there. And we were buying it, by the truckload about once a month. And one time, for some reason, the recipe wasn't right. And I was like, I can't sell this. And that same day, I bought a grinder and a stuffer and said, you know what, if it's not going to be consistent, I can do that. So we started figuring it out.
And those recipes, where in the world does what was that, a Frito pie sausage?
Yeah.
Where's that come from? You make it up?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, other people do it, but it's kind of anything goes on sausage. That one had crushed up Fritos, jalapenos, cheese, some onion, everything on a Frito pie.
All right, give us the flyover view of brisket, that 3-day process from start to when I get it on my plate.
Yeah. So after service, about 2:00, we clean up, and then the meat trimmers go in there and they're trimming and seasoning briskets. So they get trimmed and seasoned about 3:00. Then the next morning, they hit the smokers at about 5:00 in the morning.
And do you put them on cold?
The smokers are already going. Briskets are cold. They're straight out of the refrigerator.
But you'll take the brisket cold and put it right on the smoker.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Get a better smokering that way. Anyway.
See, that's gold right there. That's gold. That's a little tidbit. We need to mark that, Travis, for a clip. That's great tidbit, because I don't know that I've ever heard that before.
Yeah.
So you'll get a better ring if you put a cold brisket on.
Something about
Don't let your brisket go to room temp before you put it on.
No, there's no need.
Okay.
So, and it's just got more time to smoke. If it's going on room temp, you've missed the 40 degree out of the fridge to the, whatever temp you put it on.
Genius.
Could have been
Genius.
Yep.
Folks, these are gold tips. This is great. Okay, so I interrupted you. So the next
goes
day
on
you
at
put
5:00. Yep. And we run the thing about 180 to 200, real smoky. Everybody says don't run dirty smoke. It looks like a locomotive, and it is dirty smoke for 2 hours. And then we open it up and run it about, anywhere from 240 to 280 till the end of the day. And then about 3:00 in the afternoon, which would be about 10 hours, we wrap them up. And
now, are they at temp by that time?
they're about 180.
Okay, so you still got,
degrees.
I'm assuming you're going to go take them to 200 or so?
No, we just hold them. So at 180, we wrap them up, and we wrap them in butcher paper and then wrap it in a foil boat on top of the butcher paper, and then they go in the holding oven at 180 at 3 o'clock. So then they sit from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till about 3:45 the next morning. So over 12 hours at 180. And that 180 to us seems to be the magic number. If you wanted to cook it to 205 like most people, you need to just do it on the smoker and then hold it at 145. When I was learning all this, I was trying to simplify my cooking process to where there was a little bit of correction in it. If I was 175 or 185, it's going to balance out over that 12 hours. And 180 is high enough to render the fat, make a good, consistent, tender product, and also allow me to, hit my kids' sports in the evening and stuff.
Well, it's awfully smart, but I want to clarify one thing. So if I'm smoking a brisket at home, I've always thought I wanted to get it to 202, 203, take it off. I'll put it in a like a thermos cooler,
Right.
and then let it sit and I don't know what you'd call it, but kind of like in your oven.
Yeah.
It's going to rest for a while.
Right.
But you're saying I don't have to do that?
If I cook one at home, I bring it to 180, and if I'm doing it at home, I'm doing it as fast as I can, and then I'm throwing it in my oven at 180 and going to bed, and it's ready the next day.
Man, this is gold. Genius. Gold.
Well, a lot of trial and error.
You get it off the brisket, off the 180 oven, and how long does it rest before you serve it?
So at 345, they get pulled out of that oven and put in the service oven at 145 degrees, and it just sits there till 11 o'clock when we open that window, and that allows it to come down to a temp where you can handle it without burning your fingers.
Now, at any time, have you ever thought, I'm not going to share this kind of information because it's proprietary. It's how I cook my brisket. Everybody loves my brisket. I'm just not going to share it. I don't want my competition to know. I'm going to hold all this information because you seem so open, whereas so many people who cook briskets, it's like the biggest secret in the world. And you kind of bust those myths up. You just gave gold tips right here, upper level kind of knowledge. And some of it's totally contrary to stuff I've heard before, but I've eaten your brisket and it's awfully good. Yeah. So how do you account for your attitude of, I don't care, I'll tell you?
Well, I mean, like I say, we don't have traditions or a recipe book to go by, and we may change tomorrow, but today that's how we're doing it. And like I say, it does go against a lot of the barbecue rules with the dirty smoke, and you got to take it to this temp and wrap at this temp, and you don't have to do all that. You can make a good product and still get some sleep.
And you're cooking, if I remember right, at least for a period of time, a little different in that you were using exclusively mesquite wood. Is that right, or have I got that wrong?
We use mesquite on briskets and pork butts, and right now we're using pecan and oak on ribs, turkey, and sausage. But we're probably about to switch over to mesquite just because it's everywhere around here. It's the cheapest wood. It's easy to come by.
Well, wouldn't that make your cooking simpler? You're always going to have one wood source, one pile of wood you're using.
Yeah, and that's the main reason. Just simplify things.
And I'm assuming there's a nuanced difference in the taste. The smoke's going to be a little different between your pecan and your mesquite, and the pecan burns a little hotter and longer, I think. But maybe I'm wrong about that. But the point is, you're not afraid here again to try something and do something a little different.
That's right. Yep.
I like it a lot. All right, tell us the pig candy story. Because pig candy is what you have on your menu. The young man I mentioned from Austin regretted he didn't get an order of pig candy when I was talking to him about it, because he said, well, what is it? And I said, well, it's kind of Jay's take on burn ends, but it's not a burn end. It's different. I think it's better. Yeah. Tell us the pig candy story.
So the story is Heim Barbecue started doing bacon burn ends, and everybody was interested in it. And I was interested in it. We were kind of new on the food truck and thought, man, this would be something to bring to Abilene that nobody's got. But we didn't have time to drive to Fort Worth and taste it. They had pictures all over the internet, though, and it was just a cubed up piece of pork belly. I thought, well, I know they're using pork belly, and it's got to be something sweet. Let's just start trying out different ways. And so we smoked it, fried it, grilled it, different sauces, and we came up with a version that looked just like their picture. I thought this has to be what they're doing because it looks exactly the same. So we rolled with it and people loved it. Well, Daniel Vaughn came through one time, the first time he ever came to see us, and he got that. And in the article he wrote, he said something about the bacon burn ends are all over the place. And I thought, well, he didn't get it or else we're off. So we actually took the time, drove to Fort Worth, ate at Himes, and totally different. Like, man, we totally missed that. But what we had was good. And we thought, you know what? Daniel Vaughn didn't get it because he's expecting what they had up there and what everybody else is doing now. So let's just change the name, and then it's ours, and we don't have to.
How'd you come up with pig candy?
Well, just candied bacon, really. I mean, it's just sweet and
it's a great name.
And kind of chewy.
Name. If you haven't yet, you need to trademark that name.
Pig candy.
Yeah, you really should.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good.
Yeah. It is good.
I personally think you could sell that recipe, that could be, you know, a whole new chapter of revenue and fame and fortune for Jay's.
Big candy, yeah.
Big candy. Yeah, it's really good. So that's interesting that he was looking for burn in, and I don't know if he was disappointed, but it was different. It wasn't burn in.
He didn't necessarily say disappointed. He just said it's kind of all over the place. So I took that as maybe we're not.
I'm curious, when you went over to Himes, did you know them personally, or did you just went through the line like any guy?
Oh yeah.
Which obviously, you know anybody can do, and you know you're a pretty ordinary guy. You come across as very humble, just doing your job. This is my thing.
Yep.
You don't consider yourself some huge pitmaster guru.
No.
But there are people in that world who do.
Oh yeah.
But most people are just normal, good people, just learned how to cook, and people like their cooking.
That's right.
Which I think describes what y'all are doing over there.
I think so. Yeah. We're doing our own thing, and you know, if you like the outdoors and barbecue, you'll probably like us.
So we didn't really finish the whole story about the eating ambiance, because you go through the window and then you have some nice covered picnic tables. But if it's 94 degrees outside, it's 94 degrees.
That's
if
right.
It's, I don't know the coldest you'll ever open up, but if it's 38 degrees, it's 38 degrees.
Well, we can roll down that awning has walls.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've never seen it rolled down, but
yeah. And there's heaters in there. It's not too bad in the winter. The wind's a little rough sometimes. What gets us more than anything is the rain. But you know, it doesn't hurt us too bad.
You will have people come stand in line, no matter the weather.
Yeah.
What's the longest line you've ever seen?
The longest line started at the window, wrapped around the awning, and then went back through the front parking lot to Cherry Street, and then it went down Cherry Street about a block. And I think it was probably about a 2-hour line.
Well, if you're standing in a 2-hour line, you got to love Jay's Barbecue. And you're awfully disappointed when you get to the window if they say, oh, we're out of that.
Yeah.
Because you will serve till you're out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we try to guess at how many people are going to show up and make enough to cover it, but we don't always guess right.
Well, after the podcast, I want to give you my phone number in case you have leftovers. I'd like to always be on the list to, buy whatever you have left.
The doggy bag list.
A lot of the doggy bag list. So, okay, you got brisket, you got the pig candy, you got sausage, you do ribs.
Yep.
And what other, you do turkey.
Yep.
And what else do you do?
Pork butt.
Oh, yeah, pork butt.
Yep.
Okay. And then the sides.
And
everybody loves the sides. Yep. And did you anticipate early on how important the sides were going to be?
Well, no, not exactly, but I knew they were important enough to put some thought and effort into it. I didn't want to just, store buy something and put our name on it. We came up with some pretty creative recipes, and those have changed a lot over time. But
Hatch chili mac and cheese always been with you?
Well, it used to be poblano mac and cheese, and we got to where we were making so much of it, we couldn't keep up with roasting and peeling and seeding and dicing poblanos. So we went to a Hatch chili that was already roasted and diced. So
nice, makes sense.
One of those things we had to do to keep up. Slaw, we've changed the coleslaw probably 3 or 4 times.
And you've got a different potato salad than a lot of places. I just mean it's yours.
Yeah.
You're not buying the big tub at Sam's Club and putting it out there.
No, that's the first recipe we ever came up with for a barbecue side, and we came up with it just from backyard parties at our house, and kind of put that recipe together over a few parties, and everybody loved it. And that's one recipe that we really haven't changed since day one. That's maybe the only one.
All right. So if you're going to sit down to a plate of brisket, do you lean toward the moist or do you go lean brisket?
It if it's one of our briskets, I'll lean towards the lean, just because it's still pretty moist. If I'm going somewhere, I typically get marbled, just because it's always going to be pretty moist. It really doesn't matter though.
And I know that you're friendly with the other places in town. You got to be to just be a good businessman. And there's some other good brisket places in town.
Oh yeah,
Not counting Abilene,
mm-hmm.
not counting Abilene, just around Texas. What are 2 or 3 barbecue places you would go to and you would say that's a good place to go to?
Well, my favorite place in Texas is Stanley's out in Tyler. I love the atmosphere, love the food. It's one of the first places we went to when we were kind of thinking about opening a business that kind of made us want to go ahead and take that leap.
I don't know anything about Stanley's. It must be a famous place. Somehow missed
they're well known. It's actually Stanley's famous barbecue, so they think they're famous. But like I say, they do live music in the evenings, full bar, great atmosphere, and the barbecue is really good.
All right, give me one more.
I like some places outside of Texas, but in Texas, I mean.
Well, no, go ahead. Go across the Red River or wherever you're going to go.
We went to South Carolina and ate at John Lewis, Rodney Scott's, and Home Team Barbecue, and I would eat at all 3 of those places regularly if they were closer.
Well, that's good to hear. That kind of redeems my idea of barbecue in other places, because we were up in Kansas City 3 or so years ago and really underwhelmed by that famous barbecue up there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thought we need to bring some Texas barbecue up here, but I didn't get any arguments in the restaurant over it.
Yeah, they talk a big game, but it's just not our style.
So, okay. And if you had the opportunity, would you do like the Stanley's model where you have an indoor place and a full bar and all that stuff, or are you going to stick with what you've got?
Well, if I was younger, that would be my goal. I'm a little too old to add on like that. When Stanley started, they had maybe 8 or 10 tables in this little building, and everything was kind of an outdoor patio like ours. And that's one of the reasons we set it up like that. And then eventually he poured a slab and built it into his tiny little restaurant. And now I think it's grown even more. But he basically started like we are and just kind of started walling in and putting roofs over stuff until it's one big building.
Well, that's what you might do, is go across the street to that old, I think it's an old motel. It's still got the brick facade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Abilene Courts.
Yeah, Abilene Courts. Yeah. Jay's Barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at it all the time.
That's a lot of fun. All right. Well, it's been a delightful conversation. I love having you here. I love what you do. Who doesn't like good barbecue?
Yeah.
And I'm here to say that it's worth the wait. If you walk up to Jay's and think, oh man, the line is, every time I get there, I'm disappointed. I think I beat the line, and oh no, there's, I've got, because either way, if you get there at 11, you're going to wait 45 minutes in line. If you get there at 10:15, you're going to wait 45 minutes or 50 minutes in line because somebody's beat you in front. Yeah. But you're going to sit there and talk, and it's visit, and it's nice. It's a nice ambiance. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Well, on a nice day, it's the place to be.
Yeah. It's nice. I think it's a place to be almost any day.
Well,
yeah. Especially on a nice day.
Yep.
Jay Stearns, thanks for coming on the podcast.
You betcha.
Really, really good to visit with you and get to know you a little bit. And I don't know. I'm thinking that I'm thinking Texas Monthly will make another visit to Abilene.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
We'll be ready.
Yeah. Good to hear.
Yep.
Well, and you be ready too, because we'll have another episode of Abilene People real soon. Maybe not one you think you can smell this episode, that smoke, that brisket, that sausage. Just taste it. Maybe not one like quite like this, but we'll have another one coming real soon with another one of Abilene's most interesting people. I want to give a shout out to our ace producer, Travis Corrigan, TC, as we say, TCB, taking care of business over there on the switcher board. And again, a big shout out to the genius behind Jay's Barbecue here in Abilene, Jay Stearns. And for all you geniuses who showed up to watch Abilene People podcast here on bigcountryhomepage.com. And we will see you next time. I'm your host, Danny Sims. Thanks for joining us.